And at the end of the day, and at the end of the session, it's that bright light. All of a sudden, there's light at the end of the tunnel. It's all sunny, shiny. Everyone's always just motivated. Okay, I'm going to do this. I'm going to do that. I have a list of things that I know I could take care of. I didn't think about it before, or I just feel better, you know? And that's most of the responses I get. You know, your positivity changed my life.
The following is a conversation with Marianna Alfa, founder of Blossom Hospitality. Marianna is a hospitality leader, positivity coach, consultant, and now a book author, self-titled Blossom. She just finished the audio version that will be released all over the internet where audio books are found. I highly recommend the book. I loved reading it. I believe Marianna feels like hospitality is simply an opportunity to show love and care. This is the David Maggard podcast. To support the podcast, please subscribe, like, comment, and share. Now I present to you Marianna Alfa. Thank you for coming here.
Thank you for having me.
Yeah, for sure. I read your book, Blossom. And then, so Marianna Alfa from Blossom Hospitality. And then you have a new book out written about hospitality and your endeavors, career, leveling up, journey from birth to now, really, right?
Yeah.
Great book. I texted you or emailed you or whatever when I was in St. Martin reading it, and it was great because I was traveling, working, and your book is so easy to read. So I read it on the plane and in the hotel room. Short, small stories, keeps you intrigued, interested on what's your next move. You're vulnerable in it, right? You and then sometimes you change it up too. Like where sometimes I was like, she's very confident here. And then you would come back around and talk about the same like scenario and look at it in a different perspective and be like, no, I should have done this, or I should have thought like this. And you even like kind of checked yourself in a couple places in the book. I loved it. And I told you I gave it to a gentleman in St. Martin who's a restaurateur who I said, hey, I'm reading this great book, you know, and I was almost to the end and I said, I'm just going to finish it and give you the book. And he said, oh, thank you so much. And then when he started reading it, he was keeping me informed, like, hey, I'm on this chapter, I'm that chapter, it's great. And you signed it to me and I signed it to him.
That's so great.
Yeah. I just
love it.
Passed it forward. Yeah. So your book is in St. Martin in a restaurateur on a whole other, different, I don't know, it's so cool, in a different island, a different country and stuff like that. And so thank you for the book. Thank you for that joyful reading experience, which it was, I loved it. What's going on with the book right now? I know you just finished The Voice.
Yes, I just finished the audio version.
Yeah.
It's being edited as we speak. I'm glad that it was exactly what you described, the easy reading. I actually, when I wrote this book, I had 3 editors. Finally, I picked the third one because the first 2 either chopped it up too much or added way too many extreme or more elaborate words in English. And I wanted it to go back to who I am from the beginning, who I was when I came to US, when I became English-speaking person. And I realized also that my audience, most of which, it could be anyone, but hospitalians, as you know, English is always, or most of them, second language, not their first language. So I wanted to make sure the book is really easy to read, and it's truly a pocket size. Doesn't matter what happened with audio version or digital versions.
Are you the voice? You're the
Yes,
voice, right? Oh,
yes,
that's great. Yeah, because you have a great voice.
I
don't know how it sounds on audio, but I mean like in person, because you have the accent and stuff, and that goes with hospitality.
And you know what? I was told that, twice I was prompted, are you sure you don't want a voiceover? Are you sure you don't want someone professional to do it for you? And I said, that would go against who I am,
Wait,
because
they
I am
said
go for
to you? They asked you?
they
Were you
they
doing a
thought
bad
my
job?
accent. No, I was doing a good job in general, but they thought my accent was too thick and too difficult to understand.
No, you made the right choice.
So I said, hey, my voice is my brand. This is how I align, and I'm all for authenticity. So why would I have someone else read something I wrote?
Yeah.
If I was writing about, a geography or something else, maybe. But this is my story. Who else is going to say it better if not me?
No, I'm so on your side and so happy that you did read it. Yeah, I would have bought the audio because I listen to all audiobooks.
Yeah.
But we wanted to have you come in and sit down and talk to you, and I wanted to read your book before that. And then once I picked it up, it was so easy and it was so enjoyable. And
plus, you get the illustrations now too. In audio, there won't be.
Yeah, exactly. Will you have another book, or was it one and done, or how does that whole book world work?
I might. I've been thinking about writing another book. I've actually outlined another one because this one finished just as the pandemic hit.
Mm-hmm.
And so my past 3 years have been just more and more learning, more and more progress, more and more growth, realizing, recognizing the superpowers, the personal attributes, even more than I did before I sort of changed around my routes. And now it's almost like the elevated level of what can be done with leadership and in collaborations with the leadership that we have today, of all sorts, not just in hospitality. So it's a lot of interesting...
Yeah, you're going in a new direction.
And also connecting on a different level with leadership. So I know more stories from their lives. I know their struggles now. And I know what's being done regarding these struggles, how the challenges get overcome and all that. So it's a continuation of inspiring and motivating.
I have it written down: hospitality leader, positivity coach, consultant, book author. But then you have, the whole, where you're going into psychology of mental health and science of well-being. And those are really what I want to touch on today. But I mean, first, I guess, the question would be the simple question, the organic, the original question is what does hospitality mean to you?
Hospitality really is a lifestyle. Is when you are born or when you understand how to extend yourself to the other person. When you automatically, without thinking, because it's just sort of genuinely who you are, make the other person's life better or day better. You don't have to change or make anyone's life. It's everyone's responsibility, but you can help and contribute to making their day better by your perspective, by your attitude, by a smile, by the extended welcome, by the extended care, kindness, compassion, love. That's all hospitality to me. It's how you behave with the others, and how you extend yourself to the others. It's
interesting how you talk about it, because typically when people say hospitality, they think of working in an industry. But you kind of just described it as where it could be your partner at home, or your children, or your colleagues,
precisely,
or your customers, or you really left it vague, where it's really like it's a lifestyle of caring and consideration and welcoming and good values, I guess, and how you treat others.
100%.
Right? It doesn't have to be just the door guy at the hotel, or the concierge, or someone picking out your wine, or you know what I mean? Someone who's actually being paid to do that, but actually just individuals walking along the street can be hospitable too, huh?
100%. Main recruitment goals of Apple, for example, they reach out to people from food industry, from hotel industry, from restaurant industry. They want the hospitality as part of their company. That's part of their success. That's their formula. So it does extend beyond the doors of restaurants and hotels.
So let's touch on the beginning real quick. I mean, I don't want to. People can read your book and have the in-depth, stories, but you were born where?
I was born in Slovakia, part of former Czechoslovakia. Well, I was born when it was still Czechoslovakia. So my first 13 years were, I grew up in communism.
And you weren't a princess in a palace, and you were just very humble upbringings with imagination.
Yeah.
And wanted to leave, right? And at a certain age, and your first endeavor was babysitting.
Yeah.
Right? And then how did you bridge over to America? Or when did that take place?
So when I was 18, I couldn't get into the college back home. There was only a handful of colleges in the whole country, and it was not easy, no matter if you passed the exams to get in or not, and no matter what your grades were. So I had a little courage, and I went to UK first and foremost because I needed to brush up on my English. I needed to learn and communicate in English well enough. So if I didn't get into college again with 6 months later or a year later, that I would seek the companies, or I would seek to be in a travel or in tourism somehow, where I can obviously speak English and communicate well, just get into the world one way or another. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. And so I felt, the best way to do it, if I just ship myself somewhere to English-speaking country. So I spent a year in UK first, a year and a half actually. Then I came back, I got into a college, and after that I was just really, really curious. It's the curiosity and creativity my whole life that's been pushing me forward.
Where did that come from? Where did the curiosity come from?
Were
your parents creative, or like, did you weren't given certain presents as a child, or they made you play outside like all of us from our age? But like, where did the curiosity? Because I mean myself, completely curious. I love talking to people. I love hearing stories, no matter really what it is. I like, just curiosity is a great attribute to have as a person. It keeps growth. And so where did yours stem from? Like, where did that come from?
I'm not quite sure where. I think it was just variety of experiences that I became aware of that existed. And then I remember when I was a teenager and we used to play around with all the quotes and that we were exchanging with friends in school and whatnot. And mine was always that I'd rather regret what I've done than regret what I've never done. And that was, whatever Slovak version of it that someone once said. And it stuck with me. And so whenever I had a choice in front of me, it was always, I'll do it, and whatever consequences are, I'll just take care of it. I'll be ready to carry it.
That's definitely a theme in your book.
Yeah.
For sure. I'll do it. You're always raising your hand.
That's
You're like, level me up. I'll figure it out.
Yeah.
And if I don't, I'll learn from it and move on.
That's it.
That is your theme.
That's
for
it.
sure.
But I'm not sure where it came from. Maybe it's just the personality. Maybe it's somebody I was born like that, maybe. Mm-hmm. And maybe it was the first few steps that I made fearlessly, or didn't get discouraged right at the beginning of the journey. And then one thing after another keeps motivating you, one after another. So then you keep going back to, well, I survived this, why not this? Well, I've seen this, why not this now? So the more you do it, the more you really trust the process, mm-hmm. where curiosity leads, mm-hmm. the more it takes you and carries you into new, whole different, exposure of and experiences of different aspects of life and the world. The world is so big.
Yeah, I think when you're curious, you're not afraid to fail. Because I think failure happens a lot with curious people. And they just get up and brush the dirt off their knees and on to the next, right?
Yeah.
Where when you are not so curious and you're more like disciplined in one vertical and you don't really understand failure, they're hard to be curious,
Yeah.
And so Yeah,
for sure.
I'm definitely on the side of curiosity. So you come over to America, you come to DC. Why DC? All the places to move to. Why there?
I felt it was safe. I felt it was safe.
I could
to
see
be
that
honest,
from an outsider.
From an
maybe.
outsider,
Yeah,
right?
Sure,
You know,
sure.
I was a girl that grew up in a village of 2,000 people.
Uh-huh.
So I felt,
The president's there.
capital, the president's there,
I'll
exactly.
be all right.
Not too many skyscrapers, not too much, all the dramas are kind of under belt. So, yeah, but also I don't think it was my choice. I applied through the student agency, which was in charge of the au pair program, like a student exchange. Part of it was au pair. Of course, you're staying with the family, and part of it was going to school and learning English and all that, depending how far you want to take it. So I was told I was picked by a 3-year-old in Washington, D.C. His name is Garrett. And I used to have, a carrot color hair, high Spice Girl platforms. And somehow the pictures that I sent to the family, no matter how much I was hoping to look responsible to take care of their kids, I don't know, maybe he found it unique because his parents told me later, it's Garrett who picked you.
You were different, probably. You stood out to him.
Probably.
Sure. I could see that. Yeah. And then you had the life-changing date.
Yeah.
Right? He took you to a restaurant where he knows the owner.
Yeah.
And they offer you a job.
That's right.
What job was that?
That's right. It was a bartending job. That was a little white lie, a little moment when my life changed. And again, I think we do color up things in our life one day or another. And this one was that moment that defined really my destiny. When they asked, I was on a date and I told my date I would like to work here. It was just so beautiful. Candles lit everywhere. The atmosphere was great. It was Middle Eastern, Mediterranean restaurant on K Street. And while I was in the ladies' room, I came back. I was asked, have you ever bartended before? And that was that moment. Yes. Why? And then, you start next Thursday. And this was Saturday, so I had 5 days to master what am I getting into. Do I do this? Do I not do this? But I needed extra cash. I needed to do something.
But I love what you did next. You were like, I got 5 days, so I'm going to hit all the bars and bartenders that I know and sit down and ask them what are the typical drinks that are being served right now. Yeah. It's such a great, it's a brilliant move. I mean, I was a bartender forever, and it's a brilliant move. I mean, to see, this is what people are drinking. If I have this 5, 6, 7, 10 drinks under my belt,
that's it.
I can get through enough. And then you learn to, all you got to do is ask, oh, what's in that?
Yeah.
That's the next step.
There was Cosmopolitan, there was Margarita, Mojito, Rob Roy or Manhattan, Old Fashioned, and there was maybe, what was the coffee martini maybe, or espresso martini still. It was a handful. Really wasn't a rocket science when you remembered.
Sure.
The understanding of what these liquors taste like, some of them, and the actual realization that there is, 11 types of vodka or of each liquor. that was harder.
Learning 5 to 10 drinks to get a job and get to a shift is one thing.
Yeah.
Being a mixologist and being able to create menus and work as an ambassador, that's a whole other area. And understanding how spirits and everything works together, right? They're like their own chefs outside the kitchen.
That's it.
So, but I thought it was brilliant. You're like, yeah, hired. And then I'm going to go hit up all the bartenders I asked. And I was like, yeah, right on. That's what someone would do. And it's so cool. We've had friends do that to us.
Yeah.
Or come and ask us, what are the typical drinks? And then we get them a job somewhere. And then they just really have to, learn and real fast.
You're
right?
a sponge.
It's hospitality. You got to learn on your feet.
It is.
And go forward.
It is. And they go for your smile. They go for the personality. So, I described it in the book, when those architects from around companies came and asked for drinks I've never heard of, I would ask them directly, so what exactly is in it?
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And that's...
and they'll tell me.
But that's exactly what you do. I mean, that's what I've advised people to do that many times.
Yeah.
Just ask them. Ask them in a polite way. Ask them in a comforting way. You know what I mean? Don't be late and then snarky and look at them like, I don't know what the hell that's in. What's in there? But no, you just be normal and be friendly and and no one cares. They just want their drink and they want it made right. So if you can do that, bravo. right?
Yeah.
But okay, so that was the beginning. Bartending. Thank God your date brought you to a fabulous restaurant and they accepted you. And then you learned fast on your feet and you took that and made a career out of it. So that's great, right? Congratulations. But
Thank
you also, I mean, so touch on the whole Michelin star. Like I did before you came, I looked up Michelin star. It says, Michelin guides are a series of guides, books that have been published by the French company Michelin since 1900. I think that's 123 years. The guide awards up to 3 Michelin stars for excellence select. Only a few establishments. The acquisition, it says I can't read. The acquisition or loss of a star or stars can have a dramatic effect on the success of a restaurant. So the guide awards up to 3 Michelin stars for excellence to select for an establishment. I looked up Miami. There's 7, what it says, Miami reported 11 Michelin-starred restaurants in 2022. I went to Cote, Miami, with FIU, Korean Steakhouse, located in the Design District, Chef David Shim. Quick fact about Cote, they're the one of 2 restaurants in the U.S. who have a Michelin star in different states. And there's fewer than 200 restaurants in the USA. So speak to Michelin star and in your experience in that world. Because educate me. That's the top of the restaurant, fine dining. Is that Michelin star or is there something above that? I mean, I know there was the top restaurant in Spain at one time, right? I don't think it's there anymore, but that's on another level. But is Michelin star the fine dining?
But on Andrea, yeah.
Yeah.
Andrea, yeah. So Michelin star is one of the ratings that I would think every chef is very eager and hungry to get. It's almost like Oscars for the actors.
Sure. Michelin
stars is for the chefs, for the chef-driven restaurants, for the concept-driven restaurants that have.
But you can't lose your Oscar.
Yeah,
right?
well,
In the thing says you
can lose your Michelin star. Yeah, it's just a recognition style or recognition, I would say, tool to really recognize the above and beyond in the industry. So in that matter, I compare the two. Yes, it's absolutely difficult to maintain the Michelin star. To actually get it, yes, it's difficult, but you keep going and you keep improving and then you get it and then you take a deep breath. And just when you think there is that relief, you realize that now just to keep up with the competition, to keep up that standard that you set once is a whole another story. It's a journey itself alone. When it comes to Michelin stars, for me, it does really recognize a food side of being in a restaurant, a food side of creativity, execution, playfulness with food, and of course, how it's delivered, how it's served. I also have, before my first part of the career, my first 13 years were in Washington, D.C. We didn't have Michelin star rating there. So the highest ranking or award you could possibly imagine were the 5-star hotels, which was Forbes 5 stars or the mobile rating. And then there were the Relais Chateaus also. It was just 4 stars, 4 diamonds for the mobile. So that was the rating. That was more of hospitality altogether. It was from the arrival through all the touches through the entire experience. So I've always preferred those. Michelin stars is really restaurateur award.
Oh, okay.
Very
so
restaurant driven.
You came up through more than 4
Yes.
stars, 5 stars stuff.
Yes.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
I thought there was a restaurant that you guys opened in. What was the restaurant? Maybe it was the restaurant before you went to like the boutique hotel. That was
the Inn at Little Washington has always, when I got in a Little Washington, it was 34 years. It celebrated 34 years, consecutive years of being 5-star, 5-diamond.
Oh, okay.
And that was a small hotel with a restaurant inside.
Mm-hmm.
And then when Michelin Guide got into DC, that's when they awarded them as well. First with the 2 stars, and now it's been 3 stars for the past 2-3 years, I think, if I'm not mistaken. So the restaurant added the accolade on top of already being 5-star, 5-diamond as establishment, as the boutique hotel side with the restaurant as well.
That was the establishment outside of DC?
Yes.
Took a drive to get there or whatever?
Yeah,
And it was like
an hour and a
600
half.
people in that town or something?
Yeah, exactly.
Why is it such a staple? Why is it so, like, why is the level so high at that property? Like, they had all the stars, and then as soon as Michelin came there, they got the Michelin stars. I mean,
it's
what does
innovative. It's innovative. It's outside of the box. It competes with the best that are probably only found in, top other cities, maybe San Francisco, New York, Chicago, top chefs, top restaurateurs. The chef owner, Patrick O'Connell himself, got inspired in France in his previous years, where he traveled through to all the big top restaurants of Michelin star chefs there in Europe. And he brought that experience with him, those taste buds, the innovation, the craving for bringing that finesse and creativity here, even though he was in a small village in Virginia. So I think the fact that it's constantly evolving and that there's no one else like that around really did give him those accolades right from the beginning. It's been an institution. And again, what he's done well is that you become institution when you're able to maintain the standards that you set once. So once that reputation is built, once you cover all aspects of hospitality combined with quality of food, the wine, of course, beverages as well. It's not only about food. You make your staple in the area, and you become an institution if every experience that guest has is just guaranteed exceptional and memorable.
Which is so hard to give.
Very hard.
Right? Why would David go there? Why would I fly there? And is it more people that are driving from DC, or is it people actually fly there, stay at the hotel or the chateau, and then eat at the restaurant? Is it the whole experience like that? Is that like
both?
Both?
Yeah, it's both. It's both. So I remember.
Is it a destination though? Like,
yeah, 100%.
Is there anything around there? Like, am I going to see waterfalls, or
No.
am I taking a horseback ride somewhere?
You'll go there to decompress.
Okay.
Completely.
Okay.
I remember we didn't even have a proper internet.
Wow.
And
is
the
there a
guests-
spa or anything like that? Is like massages or anything, or is
I'm
this
not sure.
just?
I think that by now they do have a spa. I have to double check. I haven't been. They've evolved and grew since I was there in 2012. But back when you go there, I remember we used to have guests from New York that would just drive and have a weekend disconnected from the world, disconnected from the noise, from million things to do lists, and just kind of surrender to the nature around, to the little streets that have flowers blooming or leaves being colored in fall. You go around to look at the herb garden, you walk around and you just get grounded. Not bothered by cell phones, not bothered by anything else.
Yeah.
And just when you thought you took a deep breath and walked around and enjoyed your, luscious, beautifully designed room, then you sit down for this extraordinary dinner experience that really is a theater.
Yeah.
It is a theater.
Yeah, I would love to experience the dinner part of it. I mean, every weekend we go out of town and surf. We like to surf. And so, I mean, I guess the same experience of walking down the beach, sand in your toes, the wind off the ocean, it's kind of the same as what you're, describing with someone walking and seeing flowers, I guess. And
flowers and
cell
fields
phone.
and greenery.
I guess I get that more from the ocean than being, I don't know, in the forest. or
There's
something.
Blue Ridge Mountains right there at the steps of Blue Ridge Mountains. There's Luray Caverns. So when you drive, they say Virginia is for lovers, and I've explored a few of the parts of Virginia that were truly beautiful, beautiful. So you get in a car and you do little road trips, or you just walk around. I guess I should be more
open-minded too. I'm so closed-minded. I'm like, no, I like the beach more, and I should just stop that. I'm getting my way. I'm like, what am I thinking? You got me when you said Virginia's for lovers. Then I thought, okay, then I could see
there's some wineries now. Yeah, 100%.
But it wasn't your most favorite job, right? In your career, in your steps, it wasn't your most favorite. It was almost like you went there to kind of see and look around the machine.
I went there to understand.
I could be totally off. Maybe I'm off.
To understand. Yeah. I was curious. Yeah. First of all, I was curious. I was dying to be part of that theater that's been, sung about in the whole area, Washington, D.C., Maryland. What I got out of there, among many other things, was understanding of real, true hospitality. Understanding why we say we do this, we don't do this, we say this, we don't say that. So it was more of I felt like that's when I got rounded. All these standards and processes that I learned working for corporate world, whether it was Mandarin Oriental or the Intercontinental or the Starwood, St. Regis, all of a sudden they came to life inside of me. The understanding of hospitality was right there. I couldn't run away anymore. It was not just, because it said so in a training manual.
Right.
It was more of, yes, this is the guest perception. What are they going to think when you do this phase, when you behave this way, when you wear excessive jewelry, when you don't, care as much, when you're not genuine? It's all affecting that experience. So it was a different level. I leveled up there for sure. Yeah,
I guess when you're learning all the regular manuals from the different institutions that you worked for, that you spoke of, they're more rigid, right? They're like corners. And then you go to this place away from the city where you're kind of like the only show in town.
Yeah.
So you have to use all those manuals, but then you also have to put the love around it, and put the show into it, and make it come to life. Yes. Yeah. I mean, it makes me want to see the place for sure. After reading it and talking to you, I definitely, maybe one day, I don't know.
Yeah.
Who knows?
Yeah, it's a perfect weekend trip.
Yeah. Yeah. We're going to Key West Wednesday for a couple, I'm working, but still kind of the same thing, to go down there and I guess show debrief. I'll still work, but I don't know.
2 hours extra drive would give you a completely different experience.
2 hours.
One day.
Which way? That way?
Isn't it like 6 hours to
Key West
DC?
Or DC? Oh, I don't know.
More than that. Probably more than that. Anyway.
I would never drive.
Yeah. No.
I've driven cross country many times into New York and stuff like that. And I don't know. I like 2 hours, 3 hours.
Yeah, that's max. Yeah, right? That's max. Totally.
So we leave DC. We go to New York. You want to be in operations. You don't want to just run one place. You get that job. You expand. You take that, right? You guys enjoy New York. You have a beautiful loft. You make New York your own. You move there with a new man in your life who you're still with today, executive chef, which is fantastic. I mean, but we spoke about that before, and I asked you the same question of I guess outsiders think you live with someone who loves to cook and whatever.
Yeah.
You're going to have fantastic meals. But it kind of gets turned, right?
It does. I'm the one who cooks at home. Yeah.
That's fantastic. I mean, it's nothing like someone would ever think of like that.
Yeah.
It's almost like thinking of a race car driver. He never drives his car. Outside the track, he doesn't touch the thing.
I know. We do eat out a lot. Always checking the competition, market study. Always, we need to know who are the players out on the market, what new can inspire us or make us curious, or just that experience always matters a lot.
So,
but I cook, yeah.
At this time in your guys' relationship, when you're out thinking about new, restaurants or where to eat, or maybe you're at a new restaurant and you're eating, is he still at a different level with taste buds and flavors and savory and all these things? Or are you guys kind of tit for tat of no, I like this, I like that? Or how does it work when, if he's not the boss at home in the kitchen cooking you some amazing meals. Like when you guys are out, does his specialty come into play then, or is it kind of like you guys are just both looking at it through two pairs of eyes? You understand what I'm trying to ask?
Yeah. I think we are very aligned in terms of taste buds, and I keep learning a lot from him because of the finesse or the comments he might be making in terms of what ingredients, what it might be missing.
Nuances,
could use a little lemon, could use more salt. This is how I would do it.
He's constantly thinking like that? Yeah, that's
yeah.
great.
But many times he just turns off and it's just, let's just enjoy it. This is the time when he gets fed, when people serve him. But also, thanks to his comments, my taste buds evolve. And also through my comments, he understands more the consumer.
Yeah, that's great.
Exactly.
That's the
always
correlation that I was looking for, like those kind of cool things.
Yeah. And I would always pick up on practicality of things, the forks and knives sliding and, place being too big for this, or portion size, or, what it could need. Like, if I wanted this, without that, it would be a kind of loss of a dish, and this and that. So variety, just different perspectives. I've always been that, giving different perspective person. So I offer sort of different thoughts for him and different way of thinking about things outside of the box a little bit as consumer, being next to him, knowing the food because we've dined around the world. So I did pick up a lot of knowing really what the difference is. But yeah, at the end of the day, many times we do go and explore and check out, and we always check out the new places. But many times we go back to who delivered well, who did what we liked. There'll be places we keep going back to, especially here in Miami. We went to Cote. We really liked it a lot. We've been actually 2-3 times. There's a handful only restaurants that we've been a few times. Every Sunday.
What are they?
Every Sunday we go, or either Sunday or Monday, that's his days off, we go to Macchialina.
Where's that?
Just on Alton Road in Miami Beach. It's small Italian neighborhood gem.
Where is
their pasta vongole, it's like every time he's on the menu, he just orders that, and he craves that when he wakes up on Sunday morning.
Really? Where on Alton Road? Where is it?
Just next to Whole Foods.
Okay.
Like 1 or 2 blocks from Whole Foods, down on Alton. Yeah.
North of Whole Foods.
South of Whole Foods.
South or north?
Yeah,
what
south.
Do you mean? South?
South, yeah. So 2 blocks continued.
2 blocks south.
Same, Alton Road. Just 2 blocks. We park around Whole Foods and then we walk a block or 2.
And it's on the same side of Whole Foods?
Yep. Yeah.
Okay.
Literally. And it's just, it's this gracious, good, flavorful Italian, nothing made up, nothing contemporary, nothing deconstructed or redone, which sometimes there is space for that, and there is curiosity which you would go for when you like to see what can be done with the tiramisu or pasta dish or whatnot. But we go there for that good, wholesome Italian, which we just crave, just good meal, and it's been consistent. We never ever had a bad meal there. So for him as chef, that's more of satisfaction and what he wants, because he knows he's going to eat well. He knows it's not going to be a surprise because, last time we went there and this time what happened? It was a disaster. So consistency more than anything is our decision maker when we go eat out and dine out. One of the restaurants we keep going back to, as simple as an American as it is Hillstone.
Where's that?
In Bal Harbor Shops. Hillstone, whether he orders sirloin steak or anything else, it's just that great comfort food. It's a little bit of everything, and it's the execution is always spot on. We've never had a bad meal there. And it's nothing out of the ordinary. It's, Caesar salads and sirloin steak and grilled salmon and, things served with fries. And I think there's even a sushi part of the menu. And it's, by far not the omakase and whatnot. But yeah.
Everything you just mentioned.
But it's just, you whatever you order, it's executed well and consistently well. So
And service is on point and everything.
service is on point, always gracious. We always eat at the bar.
Mhm.
And so sometimes it's not always going to the, Michelin stars and exploring new concepts and whatnot. We do that a lot too. Sometimes you just wake up and you want to have a good meal in the good surroundings with great service, and they're going to
What
execute
about
well.
romance? What's the most romantic place you've been in Miami?
Ooh, most romantic. Um,
Or do you guys go out more on afternoon, meals or something like that?
I think we did like Le Jardin by
Where's it?
Robuchon in
Where's-
Design District. We had Christmas dinner
Okay.
there. And although we sat at the bar, and Design is very, actually, I would say moderate in the restaurant. It's
Mhm.
not necessarily, there's no flowers hanging anywhere or heart shapes anywhere. But we liked it. It was a romantic dinner. Again, I think it depends on the occasion.
Sure.
It depends on the mood.
Mhm.
And you make it romantic anywhere you go. When you're served well, when you're taken care of, when people that serve you genuinely care and attend to you and interact with you with that love and kindness and care, it does become romantic everywhere. Macchialina is one of our romantic ones because it's low ceilings, it's darker inside, it's one of those small, cozy kind of wine bar looking places.
I'm gonna look it up after this.
That's romantic to us.
I feel like I've been there. The way you
Yeah.
describe it, I'm not sure.
And we sit at the bar, and so and the bartender's always attentive. They always make us, Coravin wine, taste wines from the Coravin, so it's a special, something that's not on a wine list.
Why do you sit at the
necessarily.
bar? Is it more interaction?
Yeah, it's more interaction, more interactive. I guess we keep an eye on how things flow in the restaurant. It also is more casual and I don't know. We just love it. We just always sit at the bar.
Mhm.
Yeah.
What you named a couple different hotspots, right? Ball Harbor, the beach, Design District. I forgot what I was going to ask you. Oh, you both came from London.
Yeah.
How long have you been now in Miami?
Since last summer, last June. So almost a year.
Okay,
10
so 12,
months.
10 months,
Yeah.
going on a year. What do you think about the culinary experience here? Like, what do you think about the restaurant scene in Miami? Since you've been here, since you're for today, currently, like, is it going in a good direction? Is there
Absolutely.
like, what is your thoughts or feelings?
Yeah, I think Miami is a new epicenter of food and beverage, of culinary scene, 100%. I remember when we lived in New York and we first found out that there is a chance to move to London, and my first question was, "Oh my God, what are we going to do without New York food scene?" Or what? Back in the days when I did visit London, it was, fish and chips and great Indian food, always, but not really, not much of that. And this was obviously when I was in my, 18, 19 years old. Since then, it evolved crazily in London. And so that was an experience. And now when we...
So much that you said in the book that it was like the number one place.
Oh, yeah.
Right? You were
Oh,
like,
yeah.
oh, we thought New York was
Yeah.
the place, but then you moved to London and you were like, oh, no.
Yeah.
We're changing my mind.
Yeah, definitely.
So are you changing your mind now with Miami?
Well, and,
Or
we
where do
visited
we-
Miami before. Again, when we used to come to Miami, it was mostly for the beach. And we ate in a bunch of restaurants, and it was just, oh gosh, sushi everywhere, on every corner. Can Miamians be without sushi? That's a question. It's palate pleasing most of the time, wherever you go. So I am very excited to see that there are operators coming into Miami, that there is growth, major growth happening. I've been made aware of projects that are truly remarkable in the works, and people are thinking outside of the box and looking outside of the box. The operators, the chefs, there are new concepts coming, and it's not just sushi.
What do you think about the collaborations now with, like, you have, like, Pharrell in Design District,
Yeah.
and then you have the Bad Bunny restaurant, which is just a couple blocks from where we're sitting right now. What do you think about that? Is that a gimmick, or is it? I mean, what are your thoughts about that kind of like when you have a hospitality group pairing up, collaborating with a celebrity? Is that just more for marketing or?
Well, obviously, I think it's a marketing. I think it's also, you know, a way that celebrities get into this industry a little bit. It's their way to invest their wealth into an operational, successful place. It's their way of driving their own brand through a restaurant brand. So collaboratively, why not? I don't have particular judgment about it. I think it's it's innovative, creative. Let's not forget the collaborations is what is going to keep us moving, evolving.
Yeah.
It really is. You know, one person. It's almost like the teamwork. You can't do it alone. With more heads, with more motivation at one table or in one restaurant, one space, you deliver the level up, the extraordinary. So if branding can help, or if, you know, a someone famous that puts their name and mark on the place, or maybe has a vision and someone can execute from the operations team, then why not? I think it's great. I think it adds color into our industry. And I think it adds on sort of constant ongoing curiosity. You know, you read about the certain players, you know, chefs or chef-run restaurants, or, you know, big restaurant groups. And sometimes you feel like, oh, it's same old. And then all of a sudden, if it's mixed up with celebrity or with someone like that outside of the hospitality world or restaurant world, you're sort of like, oh, interesting. I didn't expect that. Or just adds a little bit more, feeds the curiosity and makes you go there, right? Makes you want to try, makes you more curious. So whatever's driven by curiosity, why not?
What does Miami need? I mean, you kind of touched on it before. It needed a variety of different cuisines, right? Outside of sushi. And I guess they're delivering on that now. As you guys, 10 months in, I know it's not a lot of time, but you guys are out and about. What do you think that is there anything that's standing out that's missing after living in these different cultural places like London and New York and DC? Like, what's something that's not here that someone could bring? Is there anything, or maybe there's not, maybe something's not jumping out, or?
Yeah, no, I think I would love to see more mom and pop, smaller places that are authentic and genuine and give you that kind of homey feeling. Because you're in this big world in a way, and you don't have to go to the suburbs, or you don't have to drive 45 minutes. If you want to just look at Brickell or Miami Beach, for example, I would appreciate like a small, cozy environment restaurants where execution is on that same great level. Also,
have you ever tried La Locanda, Italian place on the beach?
Not yet.
It's a friend of mine, south of 5th, Italian guy. It is that. It's that. Yeah. It's been there forever.
Well, La Calina is one of them.
Okay.
Yeah.
So La Locanda, remember
La
that.
Locanda, I will remember. Yeah. So maybe that. I mean, even when we lived in New York, we would either go to Michelin star place and always try the new ones, or we would just stay in Astoria in, you know, Taverna Kyklades in the amazing Greek place, and we would order same thing all the time, and it would be out of the world. And every single Sunday we would go there. We would say, oh my gosh, it was better than last time, and better than last time, and better than last time. And it was just spot on.
Yeah, it's kind of hard to, like, you're not going to really find.
I know
that Brickell,
the atmosphere is not there,
right?
Yeah.
Maybe downtown, maybe across the bridge, but
yeah.
It's hard, right? Depending on how much they're paying for rent and where the location is.
And also, I would love to see a little bit more. When it comes to stuff, I want to see them happy a little bit more. Sometimes it's very machine-like. There are nice people in the service in front of the house, but you can tell.
Clocking in, clocking out.
Yeah. Clocking in, clocking out many times. And that care, it's the extension. Again, how do we extend ourselves? Not just to our guests, but employee to employee, colleagues to colleagues, the leaders to colleagues. So it speaks of leadership as well. You know, as coach, I've been trying to approach restaurant groups and asking them, how do you invest into leadership? What do you do for your leadership so it can trickle down? to employees, so they can feel that someone cares, so they can feel that there is maybe extended benefits.
So you became interested in coaching when you guys moved to London?
Yes,
right?
after my VP role.
What was the trigger, though? What was the trigger into coaching rather than getting out of operations, really, right? In New York, you rose up to the level, you're like, I don't want to just manage one restaurant. I want to manage 5 that's growing to 10. You accomplished that. Your husband got a great opportunity to move to London, and you went along, obviously, right? You're going to go along.
Yeah.
And that's funny. And but then you were thinking about having a change in your own career, not a change out of the career, but like what sparked that, or how did you, like when do you start looking into like the more of the psychology or of the well-being of the field?
So I think there are 2 aspects or 2 kind of triggers. One, I was with a company in my vice president role where I was missing not just recognition, but culture.
Was that when you're doing the design more with the hotel?
The concept design and more of...
Which was even another level. Out of your wheelhouse that you went into, right?
Yeah. I've always wanted to climb and make it, so VP was, definitely a step that was given sort of in my mind. That's what I go for. I also wanted to be in that planning. I wanted to learn and master that planning stage of things, because I've opened several restaurants, and most of the times designers are just designers. They're good at, furniture. Yeah. But spatial planning, fundamentals not. So then the operator gets in, then the service industry the personnel gets in, when everything is already done. And then you realize, kitchen is, not done properly. The equipment is not lined up properly, no matter who was, in charge of doing that. The side stations it doesn't make sense. The side station is there and it's there. So almost all the openings that I did as a general manager of the restaurant or whatnot, we had to redo the design or tweak things because nobody from operations side had a look at it before and said, okay, this makes sense. Okay, the host then, this is going to create a bottleneck. This is going to create this and this obstacle on the floor in the flow of service. So I wanted to finally be at the stage where I can say, this doesn't make sense. This makes sense. Too many tables. Yeah. Here needs to be a partition. The
perspective of an operator.
The private dining room. Exactly. So that was very fulfilling as from the concept development part. Again, new lessons, lots of learning, it was progress, growth right there. But I was missing being in touch with people a lot. I was missing making an impact. At the end of the day, I was,
you were going to make an impact, but it's not an instant impact.
Yes.
It's an impact once that staff comes in and goes, hey, this is designed great for us. Look at the flow. Yeah. Look at the energy now. Yeah. I wonder who did this.
But that's sometimes 2-3 years down the line.
You're on to the next project, yeah.
Will I be there to see it?
Now you're not actually in the flow of that operations, having to change the design because the designer did something wrong.
Right.
Yeah, so you would impact, but it's not the instant impact.
Not the same. Not the instant, and also, will it impact lives of others? It will create operational efficiency. But how would someone's life be truly, truly better that day? I miss the leadership, I think. Leadership part of it, being part of leadership, or...
You mean you miss the human aspect of it?
Yes,
kind of thing.
The human interaction.
Because you might change the way someone thinks. Like if I walk into an amazing restaurant, amazing hotel, anywhere, and get inspired by the decor or just something, maybe a statue or a picture, a couch or furniture, something, right? You could change my life. You could change the way I think about things or how I want to live or something, right? It's really could change someone. But it's not a human. You're not changing a human being.
No.
I mean, you are in an abstract way.
Abstract way.
Right?
Yeah. 100%. Yes. You can design, you can choose the plates that are going to be used. You can choose the beverage program. You can choose, all that. But you're not bringing things to life. You're
the show.
designing. You're designing, and you are thinking of monetary part, how is it going to be monetized? Can we hire right people to monetize it? Is it even in my power, or is it my work scope to hire those right people? Or will that's obviously somebody else's role. So I felt that I was just throwing it out there and providing the expertise, but I wasn't really hands-on, handpicking those people that will handle the execution of bringing that to life, or seeing it being brought to life necessarily, because there was too many openings, too many concepts, too much development. It was too fast.
Yeah, you were a producer. You weren't a director.
Yeah.
Right?
Well, and also...
You didn't get to direct the cast.
Yeah.
You were producing it.
I like to conduct.
Yeah.
Conductor.
Another way to say it, sure.
So, but having a say, being able to set it up as well, being able to assess where the gaps are, being able to do quality checks by just walking into something. Let's say I open restaurants now still as consultant. I don't think that's ever going to go away, whether I am coach or not. Then I go there 6 months later, and I assess and I see and I audit. Is it still speaking of the identity that we designed once upon a time? Years prior, when we first read that concept brief and we chose the uniform, do we roll up the sleeves? Do we not? What's the bread and butter plate going to look like? What is a napkin? Is it not napkin? All those little touches. And what's the story that we're communicating behind the concept? It's about the story. Rest of the accessories are just kind of additions to that story. So is that story still being told to the consumers when they come and dine 6 months later, or a year later, or 2 years later? So I enjoyed that part. Every consultancy and every project that I worked on, bringing it to life or helped to bring it to life as consultant, I keep going back over time and seeing how it changed. Did it evolve? Did it lose its identity? Is it true to the identity? Did it work? What we created once? Does it work? What needed to be added? So it's evolving process. It doesn't end when you open. That's transactional consultancy. I stay involved. I offer the audits, and that's what feeds me, because you see how change really has to be embraced, and how you really end up going with the flow of what the consumer wants, what the consumer reacts on, what are the guests asking for, what are they commenting, complimenting, recognizing. So it's that kind of constant collaborative effort between execution, delivery, and then guest feedback, and what was once designed to be monetized and to be told as a story when it comes to craft.
No, I love it. I mean, you can feel the passion from you, and it's so nice to hear that we can walk into somewhere and someone has put that much thought into it, that much love, and touching, and worrying about the little nuances for us to experience, with our dates, or have this romantic night, together, and make memories that we're going to look back on. Yeah. That someone curated that just for us to engage in that, that time together, that moment, right? But then there's the leadership, the coaching, right? Because that's more of the consulting. Am I wrong? Or that's right? It's more of the consulting part of it, operations part of it still that you're involved with. Yeah. But then there's the coaching. So it's almost like you're curious, interested about the way leaders think. Yeah. Am I correct? Am I wrong? Or
yeah, absolutely. Not only what they think, but is it a healthy environment? What is the culture they're creating for their employees?
What are your findings? Like, how long are you 3 years into this now, or how many?
3 years into it.
Okay.
Yeah. And I have clients in Singapore, Dubai, New York, still in London as well. I have to say, Miami has been not easy market in terms of coaching. Imagine the tremendous growth, but for the most part, operators are not interested to allocate the budgets for the leadership development. I've heard it few times and it was indirectly, a couple of times directly said, when someone's not performing, we just find someone else. And I feel that is really where Miami market is not seeing the bigger picture. At the end of the day, market will become saturated at some point, and labor shortages are already very very it's there.
I think
adamant.
we're below 3% right now on unemployment here in Miami-Dade.
And so everyone needs people. So how do you become the company of choice? Why should I work for you for this restaurant when I can work anywhere else? So it's about how do you as company treat your employees? How do you treat leadership? Because then it trickles down from leadership. So it starts on top. And then how do those leaders create those healthy, flourishing, safe environments where people are cared for, where there's transparency, where there's openness, where there's care. So it's, again, extending yourself. You cannot be in hospitality and create a toxic work culture. There's a bunch of restaurants that I will not name, but they don't even provide employee meals. I've thought, my gosh, where are the days where you sit down and do a family meal? It's always been called family meal because the family, as we work together, we spend, let's face it, in a full-time employee spends half of their life at work, right? We sleep 8 hours. We play 8 hours, if we're lucky. More than 8 hours, we're at work. So it is the family you're with. Many of them, we used to sit down always, and it was just kind of family feel. It was that good, gracious meal. Doesn't matter how simple it was, but it was the meal together. That's what hospitality is. Nowadays, no. Many restaurants don't even do that for the employees. I was very surprised to get that feedback from
Is that here?
Employees.
Is that a locational place, or are you seeing that around globally, or are you seeing
No, just here. That was the surprise that I found in Miami. Yeah.
Is that a cost budget?
Not quite sure what's being
price
thought
point
about.
kind of thing like that? Is it because Miami's costs have risen so much in the past 24 months? I mean, it's a high cost of living is high here. One of the highest in the
I will tell you,
it
now. Doesn't cost that much to prepare a bowl of pasta or a stir fry for employees. It doesn't cost much if you choose to order pizza from outside and pay for it. Not that much. When you're generating 10 plus million a year, where does it come from? Or what else do you do then instead of that? With leadership development, that was my biggest surprise, that they have not been keen, restaurateurs and operators, they have not been keen to say, okay, well, we have this great GM, we hired him, we know why, this is how he interviewed, this is the reputation he comes with, this is the environment he comes from, the experience, yet, he or she is struggling here and there. Is it something that we invest into and develop in that person? Is there an amount of support that we can show by having them speak with someone objective and elaborate on that? When you have a restaurant groups and there's GMs and there's sometimes it's directors of operations, but they're operational people, and HR is not enough as one person to do those one-on-one sit-downs, to provide that safe environment and confidential conversations that leaders can have with when they can truly become vulnerable and when they can, wake up that potential inside of them. Usually the leaders are too worried to say, oh, you know what, this and this part has never been my strength, or you know what, I messed up here. I said this and this to an employee. How can I do it better? How can I become better as a leader? Or reflect on things, on dramas. Restaurant life. There's dramas, there's fires we keep putting off all the time. It's stressful, there's a lot of pressure. You're on your feet, so it's physically and mentally demanding. Where is the support? Do you just have to go home, sleep, if you get any sleep, because it takes a couple of hours to, calm your mind down. And do you come back and then what? And it's just another day. We don't go back to what happened before. How can I do it differently? How do I reflect on it as a leader? How did I learn from it?
Do you think that it's because the longevity of, let's say, a restaurant can come and go in 3 years, right? 3 to 5 years.
Yeah.
And so do you think that someone that would use a coach more would have to be more of a national chain restaurant or multiple locations, maybe not a national chain, more regional, but multiple locations, rather than just, let's say, mom and pop, someone, like some new hot spot that might not be here,
Yeah, but then there's a difference.
And then I wanted to ask you,
answer
that, but then I want to say, what about addictions too? But go ahead, answer. What do you think about
are you a long-term thinker or short-term thinker? I have a restaurant group in London that is my client. That's been my client since the pandemic started. Mm-hmm. And I know for a fact that a restaurant, the owner, wants to open many locations and then sell it one day. Mm-hmm. He's still investing into having me for his leaders. He's still seeing the impact that I make with the leadership and the growth. And then his top ops people are focused on more, monetizing the processes and the actual operational challenges. But who boosts these leaders? Who boosts them to wake up every day and do even better than they did yesterday?
Yeah, I guess if you, your client, I'm assuming, has a great product because he's seeing the future and seeing an exit. Mm-hmm. So he wants to give to his leadership a benefit, which would be you or consulting or someone that they can lean on or call to, or, and that keeps them more engaged.
It's
which
support.
Gets him closer to his exit.
100%. I was opening a restaurant in DC 2 years ago, and I was heading and leading the recruitment, of course, of the top part, and then later, once I hired the general manager, also of all the line employees and service employees. The moment I created a benefit package, of course, discussed with the owner, what can be budgeted, what can we spend, what not. The moment first ads went out, we had some responses. There is just so many people that apply. Everybody's posting. Everybody's looking for people. That's just, the market we're in right now. The moment I added access to a life and personal development coach, I started getting responses. Wow, Then I started interviewing people. I started getting more resumes. And when I interviewed people and I always ask this question, what made you apply with us? Mm-hmm. 70% of people that sat down with me said, well, I noticed it seems like the company cares. Mm-hmm. I noticed that you have a coach.
It's almost like a 401, the company's going to give $1. Okay,
but it's kind of like, you must care because if you're giving us a coach, that's like,
different.
Wow.
Not atypical, not so typical of everybody else. So
but that means you're investing into the well-being. Mm-hmm. You're offering extra level of support.
Yeah, you're
than
investing
just chasing
in the growth.
The HR who is always overwhelmed and always tell me which HR does real sit downs, and there's usually one HR for 1,000 employees.
And HR is really there
it's
to
really
keep
not
companies out of trouble.
Yeah,
not really that
100%. Yeah, so that it makes impact. It does, and people perceive it differently. People right away put you on a spot. Wow, the company must care. They're giving me someone for my own personal development, someone who will actually. So I don't have to chase up the GM what my next growth is. I can get prepared and coached on how do I approach it? How do I take control over my own growth
we have that
in this environment?
With Colliers here. We have Colliers University. I just took a management thing. Well, I didn't take it. They put me in it, and it was different modules and over a few months. But it was all same kind of stuff like that. Yeah. Learning. Yeah.
And sometimes it's just conversation.
Yeah.
Sometimes it's the conversation that the employee or the leader doesn't feel like having with whoever they report to, or because they're unsure, or because they're fearful, or because they are upset, and they just want to hold it back, but at the same time they need to vent and they need to say it and gain maybe different perspective. Sometimes it's actual difficult, challenging tasks that they're having at hand, and again, they don't want to show themselves maybe too vulnerable in front of people they report to because they don't want them to think that they can't handle the job. They're too scared to lose the job. yet they need the support. They need, or sometimes they're going through something in their life that's really affecting their well-being, and it could be personal life, and that automatically transfers into their work life. When you're not happy at home, when you're having a hard time handling some, pressure at home, or broken relationships, or illnesses and sicknesses, how do you get boosted to come to work and still maintain being that best version of you? Or how do you elevate yourself through that? What they say, what doesn't kill you makes you stronger, but you do need the right people around you to also get you, to help you through that.
If you
to
make
hold
it
your hand.
through,
if you make it
whatever
through,
you're going through, then it'll make you stronger. But you have to make it through it first.
to hold your hand,
Yeah.
or to also face the tasks ahead of you that you think are impossible, and all of a sudden you realize with that someone like coach that, oh, it is possible. Oh, and why didn't I think about that? There's always these light bulb moments each sessions when we do. It's like, oh, I didn't think about that. Why did I not think about that? Because it's the environment, it's the thinking environment that we create when you really dedicate. The company pays 1 hour coaching session, let's say a month or twice a month, okay? That hour, the person's potential is awake and the light bulbs go on. I didn't think about that, and this is what I could do, and that what I could do. And it's just because you finally made this person sit down, and we have this thinking space, and this person has been objectively pushed, or I wouldn't say guided, because we don't guide, but opened up to different thinking. Perspectives and creativity, and all of a sudden it's just a game changer. Every single session starts with, oh, and I'm struggling here, and I've been frustrated, there's all this heavy breathing, and everything seems gray and foggy, and then 60 minutes later, 15 minutes later, it starts getting interesting. And then once
That's
we have
a
goal,
one-on-one, not a group.
One-on-one, always one-on-one. I truly believe in one-on-one, because I believe in people's authenticity. I'm not against group exercises or trainings of any sorts, but when it comes to personal, professional development, everyone is different. Everyone is authentic. When it's done in a group, there is always the same more confident players that speak up and absorb things. There's always those that sit back and don't want to say anything, or just don't even want to hear it. But when it's one-on-one, nothing can come in between this. And the questions are tailored bespoke way to that person based on how they respond. Everyone responds differently. So I choose, I do the personality profiling, of course, and also I choose my approach. I know that some of the leaders like to be pushed, so I position myself in being their accountability partner at some point. Some leaders really need to be recognized and need to be told, great job, wow, how did you think about that? What prompted you to do that? Because they don't get that thank you or great job at work. So it's all different. And at the end of the day, and at the end of the session, it's that bright light. All of a sudden, there's light at the end of the tunnel. It's all sunny, shiny. Everyone's always just motivated. Okay, I'm going to do this. I'm going to do that. I have a list of things that I know I could take care of. I didn't think about it before, or I just feel better, And that's most of the responses I get. Your positivity changed my life. And that's what they carry out. Then that's the mood.
And
it's almost like vibrational.
Gratification
and I do. I don't even have to wait till New Year's or Christmas to get the little extra message. I usually get a small, a midnight email. My goodness, I can't believe today's session and all that. And there's a guarantee that this person went back to the operation, and that vibration went down to the employees. We get what we give.
There's the Nobi terminology.
Yeah, no, it trickles all down.
The
mood, the motivation. Yeah, I guess, yeah.
The vibration.
The vibration, exactly. I believe in that. I believe many times when I was in my leadership roles, when that someone above or someone as an outsider made that day for me, gave that recognition to me, or when I saw success, or when I became more aware of how I made others happy, that kind of just immediately spread even more, even further To me, that's hospitality.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
To me, that is pure hospitality. The ability to make somebody's day better and brighter and happier and more positive. And then you can ask your service staff to execute whatever they'll just do.
Okay. There's got to be a dark side of you too. Is there some days that you wake up and you just don't want to make someone's day happier, or is this just run through your blood? No, there is.
Yeah.
Okay, so you're normal.
There is,
right?
but you know what? I've had a couple of times I sat behind the Zoom. It's mostly Zoom. It's always at the most convenience for everyone. And I wasn't in a mood. You know, when I feel sad or down or demotivated,
Mm-hmm.
I want to stay with it. It's my right to feel that way.
That's interesting. Go there. What do you mean you want to stay with it? You just want to...
I want to acknowledge it's fine to feel that way.
Mm.
We're all human.
For how long?
For how long I want.
How long is it usually?
Well, it depends. I'm aware of what turns it around.
Mm-hmm.
I know what sparks joy in me.
Mm-hmm.
So when I had enough, I know what will completely turn it around. I get out to nature. I listen to the birds singing. I get to the beach.
Mm-hmm.
I call a friend. Sometimes, you know what I do? Sometimes I go on my website and I read my testimonials. Because they're all true. They all came from the clients.
Mm-hmm.
Sometimes I just do that, believe it or not, and it gets me boosted. And a couple of times I did sit in front of the Zoom and I was waiting for a client to log in on a Zoom, and I was just in this kind of blah, like,
Mm-hmm.
thinking.
Foggy.
Just thinking, am I going to be that best energy this person really needs right now?
Mm-hmm.
Because that's what it is at the end. They have, through me, they have access to the energy, to the positivity. But I'm not always there.
Mm-hmm.
But to be honest...
Well, it's the currency you're giving.
Yeah.
And if you don't have it in the bank right now...
Yeah. So first thing, it makes me think, how and when do I need to recharge? But also, to be honest with you, a couple of times it happened. It's unreal how once that person logged on and I saw them in front of me, it just, the purpose
Mm-hmm.
came up.
Back to you.
It came back.
Mm-hmm.
Just like that. There was no doubt that literally 3 minutes later, I was back at that superpower. And that is my superpower, the positivity, the light, the joy, the motivating them, the inspiring them. There is no other way. Even if I don't feel like that seconds before, it just comes back. When I see that person in front of me.
You need the connection.
The connection.
Yeah.
The human connection sparks that in me, no matter how I might feel when I'm alone.
Yeah.
So it keeps me going, to be honest with you.
Yeah.
And then their reactions or their thankfulness or recognition of how the session went or what they were taking away from it, or the laughter when we're saying bye, see you on the next session and whatnot, then I take that deep breath and my day is better. So my clients, and I've said it to them actually before, say it's not just me, when they would say, thank you so much for this and that. And I said, no, thank you.
Yeah.
And I actually really mean it because I was great before I logged in. I woke
You're
up
receiving as well.
wrong side of the bed, thinking of, what challenges I might have. And, I'm in the same world and same position with my own things, right? But that interaction, boosting one another, they're my boost. I might be their boost, but they're my boost. So it always works both ways for me.
It's correlated. Yeah, it's lovely. I was listening to this speaker talk about COVID, and before COVID, individuals always speak about saying we need our space or we need our time alone, right? Our me time and my time, right? But then during COVID, we learned that we don't need too much of that. It comes a point where we also need people and we also need to connect. We also need to get out and be in parks and be around people and be able to smile at people and see their face and have them smile back and have that reaction, that instant gratification of conversation. And it goes a long way. I think people really learned a lot during COVID that, you need your own time, right? But it's less than what we thought it was. I think we thought it was more. We needed separation more, but now it seems like you need a little, right? and then, like you said, it's your time and you're allowed to go through it, but you need to get back connected and get back out there, and people will do that to you.
And be aware what gives you that gratification or what motivates you, what collaboration or interaction is good for you. Being able to recognize.
That's the energy, right?
And we have to also, speaking of the human interaction, I think that's something we have to stay and be mindful of as the AI and technology is overtaking. Yeah, it's on a skyrocketing speed.
Yes.
We need to stay mindful of that, and we need to seek that because we know what it gives us. We know it makes us better.
Yeah, when you were speaking, I was thinking of that, because with consulting or coaching, right, there's so much data out there and so many conversations that people have already had that are documented, and that narrative, that back and forth, especially if like ChatGPT can read comments in YouTube and see how people interact with each other, or Twitter or what have you on these platforms or databases. And you could see how coaching could come out of that.
Yeah.
Scary in a way, interesting in a way. Any thoughts on that, or does that?
It could, as long as it's, look, there is always a generic way of responding, reacting. There is also an expectation. I feel that as long as the person you're speaking to, or as long as person that you're reacting with, or, responding with any type of conversational interaction, it has to be genuine and bespoke, and has to be yours. It has to be mine. I don't, there is just so many podcasts that you can listen to. They're motivational, a lot of them. They have the vibration you want to get, but it's always meant to be for a crowd of people, for a majority, or for a certain audience, and you're not the only one. How about being the only one as part of that audience, having someone's undivided attention, and having the ability and opportunity to speak your mind in that given moment, and to vent or offload or speak your truth. We have to stay to this genuine back and forth. You can choose to listen to audiobooks, listen to podcasts, work from home, have your, attend Zoom meetings. But it feels great if you, meet someone for a good meal and speak your mind and speak how you feel, and realize everything that was hidden inside of you that you actually really feel. Because you can only, there is absorbing all that. So to a certain extent, and a lot of it makes you feel better, makes you be better, because you're learning as well. You're listening different perspective. Are they tailored to you, or are you going to be someone else after you hear or see or read something? How do you how do you become the collaborator and tailor it to your own feelings, and have that back and forth with the person that matters to you, and their opinion matters to you maybe, or their feedback matters to you. So we humans, we have this unique ability to choose who we interact with, who sparks the joy with us, who is a great supporter, who is your fan. Surround yourself by fans, not by those that just always are your fans, even when you do wrong or whatnot. But recognize the feelings when you're around people, rather than when you're just alone with, earpods in your ears or absorbing something elsewhere from AI provided interaction. It's very different.
We'll see.
We'll see. I know.
And it's
kind of
coming fast.
Scary. It's coming fast, and it's scary. And I still do believe that humanity will prevail through the human-to-human interactions.
So if someone wants to have the consultation or the coaching from you, how do they find you?
Everywhere. Google my name.
Marianna.
Alfa. Even when we were just talking about it with a friend of mine this morning. I don't do social media posts where I say, schedule this, book this, check out my website. There's so many ways to get in touch. Yeah, it could be through social media, DM, direct message me. Could be through LinkedIn, could be through my website, blossomhospitality.com. If you just Google me, there's always some way of one way or another to find the way to me.
And you might run into her at Nobi Yoga.
Yeah, and you might, exactly. You might run into me on the street. And honestly, the world has never felt smaller. When I came to Miami, I actually always think that when I was moving from New York to London, I felt, my goodness, 19 years in US, everything I have become is here. How am I, boxing up? And then I came to London and I started realizing how close I am still to US, because either the operators or business people collaborated and knew each other. Oh, I know, and he was in New York and this and this. So I found out how close New York and London were and how the industry people really talk and connect. And so it doesn't matter, the continent and the distance didn't matter all of a sudden. And it was just really mind-blowing how many connections I found and built right away, similarities and interconnecting, and everything is interwoven. But anyway, and then I came to Miami, and again, new market, new lifestyle. People take forever to respond. And so learning the nuances and the pros and cons and then here I am again, bumping into people that I've known either in New York or in London, that know people, and it's just unreal. We are connected. At the end of the day, no matter what city, which part of the world you are, we are all connected. When you want to find someone, you will find them. You get out there, you ask, you open your mouth, you ask, you become vocal, and you will find what you need to find, who you need to find, and the service you need to find. People know each other. The coincidental, which I don't believe in coincidences, but the coincidental meetings or connections that came to me or that I was able to magically connect other people, sometimes it's unreal. That's the book I want to actually write about. Sometimes it really, really just makes me laugh, because it's like, oh, who knew? And this person, they did that and they collaborated with that. And then they got back to me from 13 years ago. And I didn't know they were doing that. And now all of a sudden I'm about to work with them. Or, it's just mind-blowing. And it works like that. That's the vibration, and that's the power of connectedness.
That's the name of your next book.
That's
connectivity, connectiveness, something
probably.
Like that.
Yeah.
Well, let's end it there. You're a lovely person. I'm so happy that you sat down with me and, shared your journey with us. Your coaching is going to skyrocket. Any way that we can help you, please let me know. And
thank you. Thanks
again
for having me. Thank you so much for having me.
My pleasure. Thanks for listening to my conversation with Marianna Alfa. To support the podcast, please subscribe, like, comment, and share. I leave you with a quote. Customers may forget what you said, but they will never forget how you made them feel. I'm David Maggard. See you next time.